let's understand the context here. Okay, brand building has been around for a long time. There's been enough research on it. There have been enough companies that have been doing some phenomenal work in terms of brand building. But uh, check out any Web3 company today, check out any Web3 VC today, and see if their job listings have brand managers or not. Mostly you will not find them. Hardly any Web3 company is still hiring brand managers. And this is a dichotomy in itself. Why is this happening? Why are we not thinking about building a brand in Web3? I think the answer here lies in the fact that Web3 is fundamentally very different from what we've seen before. And this is not just the web, but even the manufacturing era that existed before that. You had to have one product, you had to go and sell it. So there was a very clear distinction between who is the producer and who is the seller here. Who is the producer and who is the buyer here. This distinction is what led to need for what we call marketing, and a very important component of this marketing was brand building, because if users already recognized your brand to stand for certain quality, stand for certain standards, stand for certain values, uh, then your job was easy, right? Your product is sold. But in Web3, the trickiest part here is there's hardly any distinction between who's producing and who is consuming. You would see the best of Web3 products already involve their community while they were building it. Take the biggest products as example. Ethereum today, when we look at uh, a, a blockchain like that, imagine how many people were already contributing to Ethereum before it became this $1,000 coin and world's one of the most popular blockchains, right? People were already contributing. So who is the buyer here and who is the seller here, and who is building the brand and who wants the brand? These lines are absolutely blur in Web3. Similarly, look at most other DeFi products that we use today. Look at the metaverse products like Decentraland that we use today. All of these products actually involved the community way before they became brand. So this presents a very unique challenge here. When we say brand building, essentially what we are saying is that I am the seller, you are the buyer. That relationship completely changes here, and that is why the way we look at brand building in Web3 or crypto is to define what we stand for. So brand building essentially doesn't mean that we have these standards. So in, let's say, manufacturing companies or in software companies like Facebook, Google, Apple, a consumer product company, all of these companies, they first built the standards and then they said, hey, we stand for this, right? So Apple stands for simple, elegant, usable products, right? That is their core value that they stand for. But could they shout that out before they built the first Mac? No, really. So they had to first build it, and then they shouted that to the world, and the world said, yeah, I agree, you do build great products, right? In Web3, we turn this around and we say, hey, I am going to build this. That's the approach that you take. And this is not just your colleagues or your employees or your investors, but you go out there on Twitter and shout this, saying, hey, I am going to build a, let's say, peer-to-peer lending protocol. And when that happens, you get something called ETHLend that eventually becomes Aave, and then you get an entire community to rally behind it. Way before metaverse was a buzzword, Decentraland was building it already, and they did not have a working product. Probably we could argue that they do not even have a good working product till date. But what do they stand for? They stand for open metaverses. Open metaverses basically means that I could own the base layer of the metaverse, which is the land parcels. And it is permissionless. So anyone can come, log in with the wallet and do whatever they want to, unlike Meta, right? So exactly reverse is where you build a brand in Web3. And uh, you don't go out and communicate for someone to buy it. What you do is you announce your intention. That intention, if you move towards it in a very consistent way with a reasonable amount of progress and while taking the community with you, what will happen here is that you will attract a bunch of people who align with your values, right? When they align with your values, with your vision, these people will join you. Most of Web3 is open source. People can come and contribute. People can come and build on top of whatever you are building. And then that brand turns to fruition. So this actually changes everything for marketers out here. That is why you will see mostly Web3 marketing is community building. They call it community building, but essentially it's not just a bunch of people that follow you on Twitter or a bunch of people who hang out in your Discord group and give you some shout outs. Your community is a set of people who are aligned with where you are going. Most cases, you've not reached there. And this is one other mistake that founders make in Web3 in general, not just related to branding, is that they wait for everything to be done and then go out and announce. So whenever we see something like stealth mode startups and people who are wary of just communicating what they are building to people, it just feels like something is wrong here. Something is off here. And apart from outlier cases, mostly these plays need to be built so that the community feels that they were a part of building the brand, not just buyers of the brand. If you treat Web3 users as buyers of the brand, they are not going to support you. What you need to do is treat them like co-owners of the brand. And it may be by holding your NFTs, it may be by holding your tokens, it may be by just participating in your community in some way and gaining some benefit out of it. But this is general approach to how you go about building brands in Web3. And people who stick with you eventually, whenever the brand gets built, get rewarded for doing so. People who don't stick with you because they either don't believe in the vision or they don't have the capacity to do the grunt work or they don't want to take risk, right? So ENS domains, let's say, if we were to take that example, one of the biggest marketing case studies here, it is a massive brand today. How many of us see ENS domains on Twitter? It's the biggest marketing case study that we should study. What did they do? They did not do anything. They just let people own their own domain name. They let people govern their DAO. They let people earn by being an early adopter to ENS. So if you paid the gas fee to get your ENS, essentially what you did was you took a little bit of risk there because there are a ton of products that come, there are a ton of products that just fade away. But you did pay that $20, $30 gas fee to book your ENS earlier than anyone else. That means you took that risk, right? And that risk benefited the protocol itself. And when it did, essentially that benefit was passed on to people in form of their tokens. And those tokens today, of course, not much value, but at that point in time, those were more than $10,000 to $15,000 for just booking your ENS domain, right? Similarly, the recent phenomena of Lens protocol, that is exactly what they've done. Essentially, Lens protocol also just went ahead and published their manifesto. Now people are trying it out, people are building on top of it, and people are figuring out how to use it in the best way. This means eventually they're giving community a chance to come and collaborate with them. And now you will see a ton of people are changing their names to on Twitter to .lens, which means that is their social identity now. And that just means you're not selling something. What you're saying is, hey, this is where we are going. We are not there yet. We are not even close to that. We don't even know how we'll reach there, right? But join me. It's a worthy mission to be on, and that's I think the summary of how brands, or rather, I wouldn't even call it a brand. I would call it a community uh, in Web3 that's born, and that's the core of marketing actually, not just branding.